Thank you. All right, I'll try to make this quick. I know we are at the end of the evening. Nice to meet you guys. So Hired, for those of you who might not know, we are a marketplace for talent. We flip the traditional model on its head where companies apply to candidates versus the other way around. In the context of prioritizing culture, I'm going to try to use data from our marketplace to hopefully demonstrate and show where we think companies should be prioritizing culture at the pre-hire stage between the candidate and employer. Just to give you a sense, we're literally at the intersection of tens of thousands of candidates interviewing with over about 4,000 companies, and someone gets hired every 3 hours or so. So hopefully you guys can, and I'm going to put this in the context of like hiring in general, but I'll insert culture in there somewhere. So to start, I think it is helpful just to sort of kind of lay the groundwork or the landscape of like what does the job market and hiring and recruiting look like today from both the candidate side and the employer side. So people aren't happy. People do not like their jobs. According to Gallup, there are 70% of folks in the U.S., this is the U.S. stat, they're not engaged at work. 20% will only choose to leave within the year. They're not engaged, and I would probably like to say that, or venture to say that part of that is they're part of a culture that doesn't inspire them, potentially. And they'd rather kind of stick it out there than going to the TV and finding like a new job. And that's because it's hard to get a job. So if we think about just like plainly how to get a job out there, there's generally 3 ways. I'm going to network my ass off with my friends, and it's kind of time consuming and obviously sometimes awkward. And there's a threshold for how many people you can reach out to. Second, you're going to apply to jobs in the traditional way that we all have potentially done in the past, but there is anxiety of going into a black hole of that job application. Or 3, you're going to use headhunters potentially, and it's probably more akin to like finance or other industries necessarily, not particularly on tech, but nevertheless, you're not entirely sure whether their interest is completely aligned with yours. I would say not in every case, but generally. On the company side, we think the landscape is changing. So I'll paint a bit of a picture. We think there's 3 versions of recruiting online, and let's go back to job listings. So Monster and Indeed, obviously, big innovation. They put jobs online. And with a job board, you can assess someone's intent as they're applying to you and to your own job, your own company. But it's tough to assess quality on the other end of it, on the other side. And especially if you become popular, it's tough to find the needles in the haystack. The second version is more of this searching paradigm. You might be still in that, but social networks came online, and basically everyone is visible online. Every profile of any professional is there, and obviously LinkedIn is the biggest. And so we can all assess quality pretty easily, but it's tough to assess intent on the other side. So it results in spam, essentially, is that's how people are building their pipeline. So the third version, we think, is this idea of matching, and this idea of can you assess both quality and intent? But very importantly, can you assess them really quickly? Can you find the right person that meets your bar, that won't waste your time very fast? And we hope, Hired might be positioned to achieve that. There's lots of people doing that, but that is where we think the challenge is, and that balance between quality and demand and time, someone needs to figure out how to solve. So that's the employer's challenge. And today, candidates are more in control than ever before, and this is where Hired was born. The founders struggled to scale their companies at the time. It was 99 Designs and Live Ops. Candidates aren't responsive on LinkedIn, and so the idea here was, can we put candidates in the driver's seat? They were already becoming in the driver's seat anyways, but can we sort of give them compensation details up front, more company information about the team and the role, and the position? Can they have a personalized outreach that's not necessarily, I would say, more so focused on the culture and the values and the mission of this company that they're building. Now candidates have an easy way to sort of compare offers side by side and can quickly make that decision. And it obviously results in essentially a faster time period to get a job in today's day and age. Now, we are one player of this, there's many others. On the client side, now companies we feel are on an equal playing field for the first time. So, the conversation is beginning at the same time the moment you're talking as a seed stage company, for example, with a candidate that's talking to Facebook, and you're talking at the same time. And so, in that regard, if you're a smaller company, you have a fighting shot at that candidate. Secondly, data is a lot more transparent. We are one player trying to play in this, but most of you probably know Glassdoor is one of them, and so compensation details are essentially out there. And so our approach is we're trying to give employers more insight into that, also to give them more insight into the companies that these candidates are talking to at the same time. And so we fundamentally believe it's almost like an equal playing field out there. So how do you compete? So it's important to demonstrate the impact that the candidate can make on the company as quickly as you possibly can at the start of the conversation. Selling kind of the impact that they'll make, not just on the company, but on the product or the piece of the product or the role that they're going to play. Give them access to key executives so they can hear early employees, the passion and the mission that the company is trying to solve. Demonstrate sort of the ownership that they're going to have on that product or the big opportunity that you're ultimately going after. This is an example of just like a snapshot of a company profile. We're trying our best to try to show more than they necessarily would on their company website and make it more sort of candidate-centric or even industry or role-specific. We're focused right now on engineers, so things like tech stack that are on there. Sell the culture up front. The hope with, at least at Hired, is we're trying to get rid of as much friction in the process up front. So we don't want the conversation to be about compensation. That's table stakes. Just get that out of the way as quickly as possible. Get sort of the role out of the way. Now, have the opportunity to sell your culture. We ultimately think recruiting is about controlling for variables: availability, location, price. Even if you can get skill set out of the way as quickly as possible, and a variable is also a cultural fit in that as well. This is just a stat that 80% of the projections we see on our platform are not related to price or salary or anything like that. It's just I have either no sense of what the company's values or culture is up front, so I can't make a call, or from what I see, I don't like it. And they're declining those interview requests. Speed. So speed is really important at least in our market today. The chart on the left that essentially shows that top talent leaves really quickly. The more offers that a candidate has, the quicker decision that they're going to make. And generally speaking, the best people make those decisions pretty quickly. The chart on the right shows that even if you make a final offer within a 21-day period, which we suggest to do, you still have a 26% chance that the candidate will say no, and it quickly doubles if you're after the 21-day period. Streamline your process, the more that process can involve assessing that cultural fit, the better. This stat is essentially for the companies on Hired. The fastest 25% of companies that complete a 4-step interview process, traditionally I would say that is average, they complete it before the slowest 25% complete their first 2 steps in the process. And so essentially shorten your interview process as much as you can. And that goes to, I think what we've been hearing tonight is if the the more you can have a defined set of values that you know up front that you can then interview against, the faster you can get to making a call. We suggest that call to be made between 8 and 12 business days. So make decisions faster before your competitors do. If your process takes on average 60 days from intro to decision, your company essentially will miss out on half of the best talent out there. Yeah, this just shows that the first quartile is the folks underneath the 60 days. And I mean, it's tougher as your company gets bigger. We completely get that. And you will have other pulls as your company grows, but make decisions faster is a general rule that you'll win talent faster. So I say all of this to say that you to hire and to win the best talent, you ultimately need to get really good at interviewing. I think that means determining whether a candidate is a cultural fit or not as quickly as you possibly can. We actually reworded, and I'm pinch-hitting for our head of people today who put together a very different deck here, but we reworded fit to be ads. So we're looking for cultural ads. Fit kind of, in our opinion, refers to looking for folks who may look like yourself or have skill sets that are similar to yours. So we're looking for folks that are actually going to add diversity to our organization. And so we're defining those ads up front. That helps each interviewer understand that and we'll design questions around that as well so that we can get to an answer really, really quickly. And as you can see, like interviewing takes a really long time to get to a hire. On average, will take you 55 hours. So, this is such an investment of time that it's important to remove as much friction as you possibly can, and we think that's typically around, again, availability, compensation, location, stuff that just should be just table stakes, so that you can focus your interview process around, generally speaking, like skills and culture. Hope this is helpful.
I heard a couple of times you mentioned top talent, best talent. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Hire Charoo?
Yeah, good question. It could be defined in a few ways. At least in the context of engineering, there are talent that can significantly impact your company's productivity and performance. And there's those that will add some incremental growth to it. We are trying to, every company's definition of top is different. And so I would say there's two answers to the question. One is, can we at least show you everyone at the top of the funnel to some degree? So 40,000 people apply to hire, 4 to 6% is what you'll see if you're a client. But secondly, we're trying to sort of match whatever you define to be the right talent for you with you. And so that's not necessarily trying to be on this platform. It's just this is the candidate that matches whatever your criteria is. And so in the context of the numbers, it's the talent that has moved the fast off the platform and had the most density of interview requests is like
And as your experience in the 3 years, have you seen companies kind of have this wake-up call where they have failed to define their culture and then they just get that out of the way, a lot of them have interview panels fumbling around, and wasting precious days on that who we are stuff?
The way I'll answer that is that we see a very small attrition in terms of the candidates that move jobs that I've seen since 3 years we started, that leave within even the 3-month guarantee period of the company's fee. But most of the attrition and it's around 2%. Most of it was due to culture. It wasn't due to skill. I would say companies really focus on the skill, and this person needs to have all the skills that we need, and less on the culture. There's nothing in our product yet that emphasizes that, other than we give them best practices when you reach out to the candidate. Like, focus more on whether there's alignment between what the environment that person works best in and what your environment is, versus evaluating whether they're an amazing JS Node developer. We'll figure out ways to assess that really quickly. That could be on our interview performance data, which we're sitting on a ton of now, or skill-based assessment platforms or whatnot. But yeah, we don't have a formal process to say, hey, change your interview process. It's more ad hoc advice. Every company has an account manager, and they can say, here's what the best practice should be to retain this person. Like, hopefully you focus at some point on whether this person, whether the environment that you guys are looking for is if there's an action or not. Is that the answer?
This may follow on. For the companies that you see getting frequent or consistent rejections from the candidates, are there commonalities like within culture that you see sort of appearing, and do you ever channel that back? What are they, and then do you ever channel that back?
We definitely channel it back. It might be more transparent over time. So one of the values of Hired is to be transparent. So at some point we envision literally a company's profile will have a score on it. So no company will get away with saying that their culture is X and doing Y. Because we will literally make every interview feedback and an aggregate view of it available. No different than your Uber ride. Your Uber score is visible. Within the bad company, 80% that's rejected. I do not know off the top of my head what the top one is. Yeah, I do not know the answer. But I'm happy to follow up.
It was like other. I was curious. Like,
yeah, we're getting better at we have now a lot more granular. It's another graph. Other is probably when a candidate literally doesn't, it's not the fact that the company's bad, it's some other reason. I can follow up with you, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Based on the data that you've seen at Hired, can you share any specific companies that are really killing it with culture, who maybe aren't household names or not Google, but others?
No, I'll follow up with you as well. There's so many hires and so many companies that I have no idea. I will say this, that the Series A to B companies is where the majority of our hires are happening. You would think, because Facebook and maybe the only large tech company on our platform is not on our platform is Google, you think that they're making all the hires, they're not. They're actually losing out to candidates that want to work at mission-driven companies that want to make a big impact and can move fast and all those things you mentioned. So Series A companies are generally winning. The market shifts in terms of the market environment. Sometimes that shifts. I'd say currently we've seen a shift from A to B. They're rejecting A just purely because they're like, I'm not sure if you're going to be around in 12 months. So today, like, we saw a massive just shift. Everyone's just rejecting A just due to the fact that I'm not sure I'm not going to get a paycheck. B, I have a little bit more confidence. That's what I can say about that.
So then two questions on that.
Yeah.
One, my understanding from my limited experience with Hired is that you guys are involved in the cash compensation. Do you participate in the equity compensation?
No.
Yeah.
But we tell the company to reveal that as much as you can. If you understand, we all know it's hard to talk about that up front. But if you can give any indication of that, that's helpful for the candidate to know, especially when they're looking at 5 to 10 different job opportunities, and they can say, like, Button's giving me a pretty big equity package versus Facebook.
Is there, from a business perspective, is that an area that you guys are trying to?
No. I mean, literally just transaction oriented, off the base salary. There's no reason to play on the outside. We're not. That's ageless, perhaps.
And then with let's say some of those A companies
Yeah.
that you have as clients, do you guys pass any sort of information to the potential hires about the financial status or position of those companies?
To the candidates, like,
Yeah.
no, we won't pass any additional information, but we will ask the companies to make their profiles as robust as they possibly can, or their private message, which no one else will see, to that candidate, if they think that's going to necessarily move the needle. Again, we generally focus on the company and be like, share your mission, share your impact, like, you don't really know what your financial position will be in 12 months, but if you could sell people on the mission and get them pumped, that's why candidates really want jobs. They don't. Like, money is just, table stakes to them.
So are your clients the companies or the applicants? And then if either of both, if you're testing for culture, like you give an example in terms of for applicants, how do you test for culture? Like what sort of things you ask them to see if they fit within that culture that
Really good question. So clients are both. That's the challenge of the marketplace. And I would actually say that this is a good plug for you guys at day 100. They are trying to create a structured questionnaire that will pull out candidates, I guess, the best environment that they can work in. The only aspect we have for that is recommendations on everyone's profile, where they can, they can invite or ask or refer to share kind of, what they're like, and that's added onto the profile. But no, we do not have at the moment a way to assess a culture in a structured way. Our view is just like everything that can be structured, again, like availability, location, price, role, let's get those out of the way and make them as structured as possible. I actually think skills can be structured at some point too, to then focus the interview around culture.
So do you screen? Do you do like resumes?
Yes, we screen to the candidates. So
Is it based on like keyword screening? Like
it's based.
a certain keyword, a certain skill set. So
Yep.
if someone's resume doesn't say those things,
No, so it's based on both. It's a bit of a manual and algorithmic. So because we are essentially a clearinghouse for labor, we can have a sense as to who will do well and who will not, based on the demand and the 4,000 plus companies we have on the platform. So we won't reject people if we feel like there's a demand for their skill set and that the quality level that we can at least decipher is clear to us. We'll let them in. There's essentially three buckets. There's clear yeses. There's unfortunately clear no's based on our demand profile of different companies, and then there's maybes. We get a code test for the tech vertical and figuring that out for the other verticals, and it's a pass, black or white at that point. And that code test is based on, again, the 4,000 companies that have been trusted to want to see the types of the bar that they want to see. Awesome. Sorry to take too much time. Hopefully this is helpful. Thank you.